the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Yo, hey y'all, what's up? Welcome to the New Amsterdam After Show. I am your man, the Tyler Tyson. This is the After Show for New Amsterdam, episode 14, and it's called The Sabbath. So I have everything in store for you guys on today's show. My news and gossip, of course, the medical segment, and the infamous question of the week. All of that is coming your way a little bit later on in the show. But first, let me give you my overall thoughts of this episode. Oh my gosh, how much I love this show. This episode just really sums up why I love this show. It was such a great episode from beginning to end. Everyone's storyline was dope. There wasn't one storyline that was better than the others. You guys know some of the storylines sometimes you're like, oh, I only want to pay attention to Max, or I only want to pay attention to Dr. Reynolds. But everyone's storyline on this episode was phenomenal. It was a very well-written episode. And it was just a dope episode. And we're going to break everything down for you one by one, starting with my very first topic, which is the fact that we were introduced to the fact that Max had to cut the budget. You guys remember Todd from a few episodes previous, who is the assistant to the board chair, who I don't really care for that much. But anyway, he basically was sent to tell Max that he needed to cut $2 million off of the budget or they weren't going to make payroll. And so Max, being Max, was trying to find so many different ways to cut the budget. Now, the board had suggested that he cut the prenatal care for undocumented mothers, or postnatal care for undocumented mothers. And Max didn't want to do that because, you know, he just felt like from a moral standpoint, that was something he didn't want to do. So he kept trying to find little ways to cut the budget, only to find out if I cut here, that just makes every little situation worse. Like if I cut the daycare, then where am I going to bring my kid? And then all the other nurses and doctors, where are they going to take their kids? And everything turned into an issue. So he went through all of that. He ended up sending Dr. Reynolds to Mexico to perform some what were supposed to be not too serious heart surgeries, like adding a pacemaker or something like that, something that they do on a regular basis. That's not that difficult. He sent him there to do that, to cut the budget. But it was just, it just turned out to be this huge ordeal. And it turned out, if you like solving puzzles and solving riddles, that's kind of like what Max's storyline was. And I am a puzzle geek and a puzzle nerd, and I love it. So watching him try to figure out how we're going to cut this budget without really cutting any programs that he really cared about was something that really interests me. And so basically they went through that the first half of the episode, and we saw Dr. Reynolds go to Mexico, and I'm going to loop back around at the end of this episode because we were left with a cliffhanger, and I don't want to get into that cliffhanger just yet. But anyway, he goes to Mexico. He has a conversation with a bunch of doctors and really makes a connection with one of the doctors there. And they both just fall, well, the woman doctor that's there, she falls in love with, as she says, with medicine again. And we'll come back to that storyline in a little bit. So anyway, Max is still running around. He ends up saying that he's going to cut the postnatal care for undocumented mothers, and that's kind of where we think that it's going to go. And he ends up finding a new way to save money, which is outsourcing his doctors. You know, they're all specialists. They're one of the few hospitals where they have a number of specialists on staff. I don't know if you guys experience this, but a lot of times we can go to our doctor right around, or a hospital right around the corner, and they don't have a specialist for fill in the blank, whether it's cancer, whether it's some type of cardiac issue, HIV and AIDS, whatever it is. They don't always have those specialists on call, whereas New Amsterdam has everything. It's like a one-stop shop. Everything you need is right there. So what Max figured out is, what we can do is outsource some of our doctors. We can actually hire more specialists and then outsource them to other hospitals around the country. Those hospitals will pay us to send our doctors there, thus increasing our budget. Thus, I don't have to cut any programs. Everybody's happy, and I can make payroll. So it was just a great fix, and I love Todd. I forgot how much I really liked his character because he hasn't been in a lot of episodes lately. But that actor, I need to look him up. I'll have him for you next week. That's his name. But he is a phenomenal actor, and the way that he's playing this role is just, it's great. He and Max's interaction is phenomenal. So I just really appreciated that. And then also Dr. Kapoor and Dr. Sharp. So they have a patient who was brought in. This is kind of why the episode was titled The Sabbath. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they did not say their religion, but because they kept referring to kosher foods and only doing certain things on certain days, I'm going to assume that they were Jewish. And the woman ended up having this paralysis that kept moving all over her body. So she was initially brought in because she had a cut. The husband was playing it up like he was like, oh, she's in a serious condition, and she was like, yo, it's not that serious. I just fell. I'm a klutz. Like, this is a scar, a scratch or a cut. They can stitch this up and we can be on our way. Well, come to find out, the issues kept getting bigger and bigger. It went from she fell out because she had paralysis of her legs, and then at one point she couldn't feel her arms. And so basically they found out that the daughter, whose name is Shirley, she had eaten a hot dog, which was not kosher, but she had eaten a hot dog from a street vendor and apparently got a tapeworm from that. Now, I don't know anything about tapeworms. Maybe that'll be something we cover in a special segment on another show, because now I'm really interested in tapeworms. But anyway, she had a tapeworm, and she passed on the tapeworm's eggs to her mother just by giving her a kiss. And so this really is something that I want to talk about on another episode, because I just think of, not that I'm kissing a lot of people, but I'm just thinking, how many people do we kiss on a yearly basis or every so often? Or how many times do we drink after somebody? If you can pass on the eggs of a tapeworm just by a simple kiss, I mean, yeah, we need to know a little bit about tapeworms. So anyway, they found out that was the reason why the woman ended up having, as the lights changed, the reason why the woman ended up having the paralysis that was moving throughout her body. But the great thing about it is that it could be fixed with pills. There was just some pills she had to take, like a regimen for like a couple weeks or something, and then it would be over and she would be back to normal. So that was definitely good news for that storyline. Also, I definitely want to tell you guys, well, I actually want to thank you guys for making us the ESPN of TV Talk. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can always stay up on the latest AfterBuzz news and info, especially here at New Amsterdam. And if you are listening on any of the streaming platforms, please rate us 5 stars, and then leave us your comments to let us know what you think and help to continue to make us the ESPN of TV Talk, because we can't do this without y'all. So we really do appreciate you. And then also another storyline that I thought was pretty dope. So Dr. Frum was dealing with a young man named Cephas. And I almost, based off of this storyline, I was trying to avoid making something from this storyline the question of the week. But basically Cephas had these tumors that were in his stomach intestinal area that were triggered by stress. Now, he's 13 years old. His mother was trying to figure out, well, what type of stress does a 13-year-old have? He has a great life. He's in a great school, all of these great things. Well, come to find out, Dr. Frum gave him like a PTSD test and all these different tests. It was all due to racism. Now, that kind of blew my mind a little bit, because I was like, whoa, I mean, every person that I know has experienced some type of racism, no matter what their ethnicity is. So how does that trigger and turn into tumors? And so basically, the child was basically internalizing every single thing, and that was thus causing the stress, and that was thus causing him to have the tumors. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, then how do you get this to stop? Because racism doesn't stop. We know it just kind of goes on and on and on. And basically, what they ended up saying is that he not only has to talk about the things that's going on, but he has to kind of understand a little bit the things that's going on, and then also get to a point where he doesn't just hold it. So basically, my takeaway from this is, if something is happening, the only way, which is why I actually love talking race in any situation, because I feel like all you're going to do is learn from it. It's not to point blame. It's really to help everyone understand each other, help you understand me understand you. Like, I just feel like you can only learn if you talk about it. And that's the bottom line of what they kind of got to in that storyline. And the reason that I did not want to make that a question of the week is because I feel like we talk about race all the time on the show. And I just did not want the question of the week to be that obvious, considering how much they talked about racism on this particular episode. And then also another thing that I thought was just interesting, Dr. Bloom, whom I have just come to absolutely adore on this show. She she kept having, so first of all, she was back without her crutches. You guys know for like the last 5 or 6 episodes, she's had a crutch. She's had the little thing somebody had to wheel her around. Like, she's had so many issues with her leg. Well, the cast is finally off. She's walking and she was excited about it, wanting everyone to notice. Nobody was paying attention to the fact that she was walking again because everyone's busy. Max is trying to save the hospital from going under financially. The other nurses that were in the ER, they were like, ma'am, there are other issues going around right now. And then also, you need to work on your manners because you don't even say hi, good morning, or thank you, or anything. You just kind of jump into whatever your issue is. And so the thing that caught my eye, though, is that she, in the middle of a conversation with one of the reoccurring, I don't remember them saying his name per se, but I definitely have seen him multiple times on this show. She was having a conversation with him, and then out of nowhere, this woman caught her eye, and she just lost it. You guys know that Dr. Bloom will go from 0 to 100 in no time flat. And so she saw this woman and just started cursing her out. She walked right by her, and like after she cursed her out, walked right by her. Every time she saw her, she would just spaz out on this woman. And it's like, well, who the hell is this woman? Come to find out, it's her mom. We find this out at the end of the episode, that it's her mom. They have, Dr. Bloom comes from a very well-to-do family. They come from money, and she does not get along with her family. And her mom was there. Her mom never cursed back. Her mom never got aggressive back with her. Her mom just sat there the entire episode, which the episode seemed like it went through the course of at least a full 12 to 14 hour day. Mom stayed there and sat and just wait and just chilled out. And finally, Dr. Bloom, after the end of her shift, got tired of, putting up a little fight with herself. And she sat next to her mom and was like, what do you want? Like, what is it? What can I do to help you? And mom's like, I just want dinner. Like, let's just go talk, have a conversation, and let that be that. And she said it that calmly and that peacefully. And so it looks like they're going to try to at least mend that relationship. Now, I don't know where that's going to go because I don't recall there being much of a history. I don't think we've ever really even seen her parents on the show. So I don't really know where this is going to go, but we shall see where this dinner leads us in subsequent episodes, okay? So let's go ahead and get into my news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So you guys know usually Tyler Labine gives us Amsterdams to, kind of go in on. Well, once again, this is 2 weeks in a row. Tyler has left us hanging with no, right? With no Amsterdams. Now, Ryan Eggold, who is the main character that plays Max on this episode, he called Tyler Labine out on Instagram. It's like, yo, what is up? Like, why haven't you played this song? Apparently, Ryan actually does music himself and recommended one of his songs. No one on the cast knew that he knew anything about music like that. So Tyler did say that he was going to get back started with the Amsterdams coming up, hopefully next week. So maybe we'll see Ryan on the playlist. But something else for you guys, Ryan did direct this episode of New Amsterdam. And I love when the main characters and the actors get involved behind the scenes because there's a lot that goes into productions. Like, yeah, you see the people in front of the camera, but there's like grips and there's directors and producers and all these people that you don't really get to see. And so watching him really get involved like that means that he's that committed to this project in that role. And I brought you guys some behind the scenes pictures, and he was excited to have his directorial debut on this particular show. And the entire cast was supporting him, and they said that he did a phenomenal job. Tyler even joked and said, good job, buddy. In fact, I'm sorry, sir. He said that Ryan made him call him sir while he was on set. So I just brought you guys a couple pictures of Ryan actually being behind the camera instead of in front of the camera, which I thought was pretty dope. And I also went over to FEMA Official's page, who plays Dr. Sharp, and she was sporting a piece of jewelry, and I can't really see it from here, but the jewelry is in support of cancer. So if you go to her page, FEMA Official, she has all of the information there, any of the proceeds, any involvement with, there it is, any involvement with this jewelry company, which is called Golden Thread Inc., and they teamed up with SU2C. They have these collaborative jewelry designs that are exclusively for Stand Up to Cancer. So anytime you make a purchase or support them, it is going straight to Stand Up for Cancer. And I think all of us know people that are unfortunately affected by cancer. So, I mean, the jewelry looks nice to me. I might have to see if I can buy something because I have some things that I need in my life. I didn't have a Valentine. Maybe I'll buy myself something for Valentine's Day. Anyway, let's move on from our news and gossip and get into my infamous question of the week. So my question of the week this week is kind of based off of something that happened on New Amsterdam. At the end of the episode, you guys saw Max try to link up with Bobby's mom. I can't think of her name, but her child's name is Bobby. Linked up with Bobby's mom from the previous episode, and they were supposed to go out to a play. Well, neither of them felt comfortable enough going to this play, and so they ended up talking for hours over pizza. And the reason that they didn't feel comfortable going on this quote-unquote date is because they are both grieving and getting over the loss of a spouse. Both of their spouses passed away unexpectedly, and they're both kind of getting over it. So my question of the week is, how much time should one wait after their spouse passes away, before they start dating again?
Are you looking numerically, or are you looking? Are you talking something that's like?
Just a generic question.
I think it's until you're comfortable. It doesn't have to be ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vito. I was
Hello,
gonna introduce him, but he jumped in.
I've been sitting here. I had myself up on screen. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you again. I'm Vito in the booth. I really personally think that it all has to do with your personal comfort level as far as what you feel as though you should be doing.
Right.
In regards of your spouse, or what you feel comfortable doing in general.
So if you were married for 30 years, now granted, that's not the case in this episode, but if you were married for, let's say, 25, 30 years, do you think that would you look at someone crazy if they started dating like a month after their spouse passed away?
I don't know if I would look at somebody crazy like that. I think that everybody copes in their own way. Everybody grieves in their own way, kind of like we talked last week.
Mm-hmm.
But in that regard, I think it's in part whatever the two people or so had together, and depends on how they felt about it. Because at the end of the day, if your spouse looks to you on their deathbed and goes, "Don't you date anybody," I doubt that you would feel comfortable dating anybody.
Right.
But if you have a spouse that's like on their deathbed and they're like, "Hey, I just want you to be happy. I want you to find somebody. I know it's going to be," because it is tough, especially when you've been married to somebody for so long. My grandfather and grandmother on both of my sides of my family have had their spouses pass away, and they haven't found like partners necessarily. They haven't gotten remarried or anything, but they found companionship. And
Right.
I think companionship is just generally really important.
And I think companionship is so important because what I have found is that when you have someone to like share your life with, it kind of just, especially when you get older, your kids are out of the house. Most of the time you're retired. Like you don't really have anything that kind of gives you that purpose to go. And I feel like if you have a companion, that's a reason for guys to go get a haircut and to stay in the gym, ladies to do whatever they do to keep themselves up. Like it just kind of gives you that extra motivation.
Absolutely. I agree. And I think people need that motivation, especially in such a hard time.
I almost said, nope, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say
it.
I will say what I did, my answer to the question is kind of just like yours. And that's what I appreciated from this episode, which was that they being Max and Bobby's mom, they had a natural, organic connection over pizza. It wasn't a formal date. They weren't at this play and they're dressed up and they're sitting and, am I gonna reach my arm around? Like it was none of that. It was like, I always believe that everything should happen naturally and organically. That's how all of my relationships, now granted they haven't lasted, but that's how all of my relationships have happened. I am not one, and there's nothing wrong with it.
No,
you have to do what works for you. I don't do apps. I don't dating apps. I don't try to hook up on Instagram or any social media just because I need, obviously I talk a lot. I need face-to-face interaction. I can't fall in love with you. I can't even begin to even open myself up based off of a picture that you probably put a filter on and probably did some airbrushing and whatever.
So what we're learning is Tyler's standards are too.
My standards are
kidding.
not.
I'm
high.
kidding. You deserve to have that kind of connection with somebody, just like anybody else.
I'm an
It's whatever
honest
you
person.
prefer.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people aren't honest all the time,
Yeah.
and I have to figure you out. I need to look you in your eyes and see, are you lying to me? Because
That's okay.
That's my question of the week. I
Good.
want to know what
Yeah.
you guys think. Comment below. How much time should one let pass before you start dating again if your spouse or loved one passes away? That's my question of the week. Let me know what you think. All right, y'all, let's get into this medical segment. That is the perfect kind of sound effect for what I'm about to talk about, because what we're about to talk about in this medical segment today has me so paranoid. I have tissues right here because I legit, everywhere I go, I am washing my hands. I don't touch doorknobs as much as I used to. Like, I am just paranoid. And
Gosh, I wonder what it could be.
what could I possibly be talking about? I am talking about this coronavirus. Right, that part. Now, they say that the coronavirus they are a family of viruses that can cause illnesses such as like the common cold, severe acute respiratory syndrome, and I don't know what this is, but Middle East respiratory syndrome. I don't know what that is, but all of those are kind of bunched up together. Now, they say the symptoms are that of the common cold. They say that it could be fever, cough, shortness of breath, or difficulty of breathing. And they say that they usually tend to appear 2 to 14 days after exposure. Now, being transparent, before coming into the show, I felt my throat get a little scratchy, like after I do a show earlier today, and I felt my throat get a little scratchy, and immediately I got paranoid, and I started taking all type of medicine, and I'm like, oh, no, we are not doing this today. Now, they did say the causes are unclear exactly what causes the coronavirus. They also don't know how contagious it really is. They say that it appears to be spreading from person to person, those in close contact, and it can be spread by respiratory, somebody sneezing on you, coughing on you, all of those different things, or coughing or sneezing on surfaces, and then you come along and touch it. So sitting right here, I'm low-key losing my mind a little bit, although I know we're good here at AfterBuzz. But if if we had a guest that come in and they sneezed, or they sneeze in their hand and then touch the table, okay, boom, the virus is right here. So they say, of course, preventative methods, of course, wash your hands, use sanitizer as often as possible. Of course, we all know soap and water is the 100% best way to do this. Sanitizer is a good alternative if you don't have the soap and water, but always go soap and water first. Cover your mouth and nose with your elbow, like that, when you're, or with the tissue when you cough or sneeze. Avoid touching, this is a big one. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands aren't clean. So what I've been doing, because I fidget a lot sometimes, like I'll touch and then I'll just be sitting around and playing in my face. Stop. Don't do that either. Do not, because any orifice or opening to your body is a way for this virus to get in. So if the virus is on your hands and then you rub your eye, okay, boom, it's still getting in there. So just really watch the placement of your hands. Avoid close contact with anyone who's sick, which I think we do that already. Avoid sharing dishes, glasses, drinking glasses, bedding and other household items if you are sick. So if somebody's sick, you put them in another room and lock the door and leave them to themselves. No, I'm joking. Don't do that. But just avoid sharing things as much as we have been before, and just disinfect your surfaces as much as possible. And if you are sick, stay home. Don't bring that mess up in here to AfterBuzz. Don't take it to school. Don't take it to work. Don't try to be the superhero of the day. Nobody wants to see you sick at work. Stay home and take care of yourselves. And of course, if your conditions are ongoing, please see a doctor, seek medical attention. And yeah, that's all I got, because like I said, this virus, people really don't know where it's coming from, and they really don't know how to contain it. We do know that there is not a vaccine for this, so you can't get, you know how you get the flu vaccine before you get the flu? That does not exist for this. So just really, really, really be careful, and also avoid eating raw and uncooked food or meat. And And that's all I got for you guys. So just really, really be careful out there with this virus, you guys. And let's get into my predictions for the next episode.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So these are my predictions. I'm going to try to slow it down because I feel like I was talking really fast. One, you guys know we were left with a cliffhanger, and that's why I said I would come back and address this later. The cliffhanger that Dr. Reynolds told everyone in the world, seemingly, about the fact that he plans on moving to, not South Africa, San Francisco, except Max. Well, he told a doctor in Mexico. The doctor ended up calling Max and then told Max that she wanted to apply for the position that he didn't even know he had an open position because Dr. Reynolds hasn't told him. So we're left with that cliffhanger. I still don't think Dr. Reynolds is going to go to San Francisco. I think that he and Max are finally going to have this conversation. He's probably going to make every plan to move, but ultimately he's going to stay at New Amsterdam. I just do not see the show continuing on without him. I think Max and Bobby's mom, I'm going to learn her name. Max and Bobby's mom, I think, will have a budding relationship. I kind of called that on a previous episode, and I'm sticking to that. And that's all I got right now because that's the main storylines that are going on. So those are my predictions. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you guys right here next week for the next episode of New Amsterdam. I am your man, Tyler Tyson. You can hit me up on all social media at the Tyler Tyson, where we can continue to talk long after I get off the air tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love you from the bottom of my heart. Peace.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.